It was like it was gonna. That would have been awful.
You've sat in one of those before, though. Huh?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Thank you so much for coming. It's an honor to be able to talk to our peers. We don't have any moderator, like a moderator, like somebody asking us questions, because we've had just like the greatest experience just basically talking to audiences, and the questions always seem so unusual and specific and gratifying. And if anybody wants to start, yeah, please, you over there, raise your hand preemptively. Yes, you.
Preemptively, I did. First of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Questions for both of you. What was the best moment and most challenging moment while working on this project?
Well, I mean, the best moment for me on set was, like watching Kieran in the scene in the cemetery was so funny to me. I had kind of imagined it a little differently, and then he just started going off, and we spent it was our only day where we actually had a little more time, because we had a sunset shot, so we actually had to like kind of fill the day up a little bit. It was a strange schedule. And, but anyway, so like, we just let Kieran go, and it was just the funniest thing. I mean, it was so funny. I'm in the scene, I'm turning around for half the scene because I can't stop laughing. It was a joy. It was like just a joy.
I didn't expect the scene to go that way either. I was like, I wonder how this will go. And it was, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, what about challenging? That was a two-parter. One question each. Two-part.
You want to do challenging?
That's what I went right to. What was challenging?
Challenging was the train was a real pain in the ass. We had one train car. We had to put green screen on the side of it, and it just was like, so that one car did everything, which is to say, like, the car that we, like, when he starts yelling at everybody, then the car that I'm walking through to find him, and then the car that we're running, chasing, and then the car that we sit down in finally first class. It's like one thing, and it was just like a logistical nightmare to be able to do that. Well, actually, every day was a logistical nightmare. We were shooting in airports that didn't exist. We were shooting in an airplane that was designed to teach pilots how to deal with fire. And so, so you were dealing with it was like 5 rows in an airplane, and if you pressed the wrong button, it would simulate a fire. And then in Polish, they would say there's a fire. And so, like, every day was really, really hard.
Yeah. His answers are good, so I think we can move on.
Yes. You want to go? Eric. Thanks.
First off.
Loud mic, isn't it?
Yeah, wow. Hats off to both of you for two of the best performances this year. There is so much interiority without it ever feeling telegraphed, and I wanted to ask, as a director, also well done. This had a really great sense of like comedy classic to it, and by that I mean it felt like 70s kind of stuff, like Hal Ashby, Louis Malle, some of those older filmmakers. And I was curious if during this, like from the compositions to the editing to the soundtrack, felt very something you'd see in the 70s or 80s. Did you have a holy grail that you watched or went back to while you were making this?
No, and it's so funny, I've heard that a few times now, and I just don't understand it, but I'm really not, I'm just not a film savvy person, like, and so no, I thought this was all in my head, but it turns out it was 50 years old. I don't know.
I think that's just because it's so well put together.
No, that's so sweet of you, and I take it as the highest compliment, because I understand that's like supposed to be the golden age. I just am like, I was not aware of that, but I've now read it. I guess there's some, but I think I just have maybe like Luddite taste. Like I don't like seeing tech in movies, but I think I'm probably speaking for a lot of people. Oh, thank you. The kids with their movie phones. With their prop phones. So I guess I wanted to just feel classical. The music was all written into the script. All the songs that you hear are in the script in those places. Because I was basically just trying to offset any kind of juvenilia in the movie, because the characters are running around and smoking pot and are, kind of cursing with each other, and I just wanted to kind of have this invisible hand of sophistication over the whole movie so that it felt like the past is speaking to these characters present rather than just a kind of buddy comedy. So that's why the music was in there. And maybe it does have like an old style quality. We didn't shoot film, so it doesn't have that exact feeling. But Yeah, I did give, you know, it's so funny, I gave the cinematographer one movie, so you asked me about the touchstone. I gave him a movie that was from like 1989, so maybe, it was called Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Oh,
And-
great movie.
Oh yeah, thank you, I'll pass it along. I probably won't, but yeah, but thanks so much, you're such a nice person, thanks a lot.
So cool. This is why it's great that we ask people that we just do it this way instead of having moderators. Like, we've been doing so many interviews for so long that, like, I never heard any of it except the Crimes and Misdemeanors part. I never heard any of that from you, and that was prompted because it was a really excellent question.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why they're good. And that's all the time. Yeah, me?
Yeah.
No, this is your job. You do the thing.
Okay.
Why?
Okay, right in the back, a red sweater, I think, yeah.
That was who I was gonna pick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have the mic.
Oh, you have the
I'm
mic.
so sorry, I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm
You, and then you, okay.
You're
Also,
as loud as anybody can be, yes, we're all actors, let's project.
Okay, yeah, let's hold it.
To the front row, not the back row, yeah.
Yeah, we're taking all those doses. Okay, anyway. So 2 questions if that's okay.
Yeah,
But the
we'll
first
see.
one being, alright, if the music note, I was a little bit more curious about that in terms of like how aware I read the screenplay before I came to the screening, which is a treat.
Oh, because it was on there too.
And something I really love, I'm a writer performer, but I really love when there's music cues because I can just like set the playlist and play
Yeah.
pop.
Yeah.
And for that, I was like, I actually read a blurb, I think it was LA Times, Kieran, that you said like people were telling you the movie's like an odd couple buddy comedy, but it's a road movie, but it's a Holocaust tour, like something along
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lines of that. You're like, why am I getting this? But I think what the music was really successful in doing is, making the dramatic moments that much more potent. So I want to know how conscious of you were that.
Yeah, I mean explicitly conscious, like I was writing the scenes to the music, and then I would give them music to our like dolly grip and said like, you know, the dolly grip is the guy who pushes deciding the pace of the scene. I'd say this is what we're gonna be walking to, and we're gonna be cutting it with this. When we did the camera shot around on Kieran at the end, we pull around on him. That was specific to that exact moment in the song. So yeah, it was stuff like that. It was great. It gives you a sense of kind of like the visceral thing. So when you're not just reading a movie script, you're feeling something.
Yeah, the total aesthetic.
Yeah, thank you so much for reading it.
Of course, yeah.
Where is it available?
What
It's
is
on
it?
Deadline.
Oh yeah, they published the script on Deadline. Yeah.
Yeah, and then second question.
Uh-oh.
Obviously, there's been like a lot of you guys do a lot of interviews. The press has been talking about like casting and everything. Like Kieran, there was talks about you potentially dropping out, and you were gonna play Benji at one point, and John McGarrett was gonna play David. I was just curious that once you did like lock in casting, was there an additional pass on the script that you were able to do, or did you remove anything because you're like, oh, I have drum improvisers like Will Sharp, is there any director in his own right, like things like that.
Who's gonna play David?
Oh, I did just ask me if
John
I.
McGarrett?
Yeah, do you know this actor? He's so good.
I can't hear from you.
How do you say the
I'm
name?
not saying, who's that guy? Sing actor, I'm
John
the name.
McGarrett?
Oh yeah, he's great. He's great.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's great. He's
Okay,
doing great.
something like that, September.
I mean,
Like
if you're doing it with you, yeah.
No, you would have been good in my part.
I know you would. Yeah, he's great.
And like you and him together would have been nice.
Yeah, do you want to do it again?
I don't think we can. Yeah, so what you were asking about castings, and basically, yeah, the only rewriting we did was, it was a weird thing. Basically, the airport that we shot in told us like 2 weeks before that we can't bring, so it was originally that Kieran's carrying weed into the airport,
Right.
and then they told us you can't say that, you can't pretend the character is carrying weed through the airport. And I said, well, it's fake, you know, and also it's supposed to be JFK. And they said, no, people will see in the credits that it's our airport. They were just about to open in Poland. It's a conservative Catholic country and everything. So anyway, so I had to rewrite it to say that he mailed it to himself, which is a cute little edit anyway. It's fine, it doesn't matter. But that was the only thing. No, otherwise we did the, you know.
I was gonna say, because I read it a year before,
Yeah.
and there was like that. Maybe that was it.
Yeah,
Was the
that
only
was the
change in that
change.
year, and then I think possibly due to the strike, there were no changes or rewrites.
We were in a
to the
strike
entire
situation.
series. So it was an extremely tight script, which is all that. It was no fun. Strike. Great script.
Well, thank you.
You got the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just now.
They took it away from you?
Sorry. Also, to very quick question, what's the thing with the feet? Benji's kind was that improvised? Was that second question, can you explain the ending? Yeah.
Sure.
Don't explain it.
Oh, okay. I mean, the feed is basically, somebody once told me that, I thought it was so funny and sweet and odd, and then he tells me I have my grandmother's feet, but basically then he keeps pushing me away from having a connection to her, that he wants to own her, you know what I mean? And so that's when David finds his feet later at the end, like, oh wait, I have grounding here, you know, like I belong here too. and I belong here in Poland, and it's my feet are on the ground. It's like metaphor. But it's like David has this struggle to connect to this place and to connect to his grandma. He's not a visceral person, he's so analytical. And so that gives him this thing of like, oh, I never looked at my own body. And Kieran's character is like, you know, very in his body. And the ending, wait, you mean just him at the airport?
Yeah, the last shot. Yeah.
Oh, the last shot is basically just like, this is a character who's in his element when he's just in these places that are transient. A person who has trouble sustaining long-term relationships, but a person for whom a brief interaction he excels in. And so he's just somebody for whom like this place makes sense. And this is why he can't come over to dinner to my house, you know, to start a conversation with my wife. He's too judgmental and he's too angry and he's great one-on-one for 5 minutes. And this is just the place that he can exist. And David goes home to his wife and kids and it's lit in an orange glow because he's like the hero at the end of the Western. And unfortunately, the movie's not over. You have this other guy and that's the real pain. He's the real pain. Thanks. So thanks. You want a picture? You're right here and you're at the head.
You did such a fantastic job hello. You did such a fantastic job of establishing your dynamic of tenderness and anxiety and frustration and the love that was underneath it. Did you have a deep friendship before you started working together on this?
Showed up the day before we started shooting.
He showed up the day before we.
Really? You didn't know each other?
No, we had met maybe like
Twice.
Wow.
over 15 years. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well done.
No, it's a testament to him. I mean, can I talk about you?
Yeah, and I'm gonna hit you right back.
Okay.
Gosh.
Kieran is just this unusual person who he
You're
just.
perfectly normal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I'm unusual in kind of all these ways I'm trying to take pills for. You're unusual. You're unusual in great ways. I'm unusual in DSM ways. He just is like, he showed up a day before, he didn't want to talk about the character, he was just immediately like living in it. He was sleeping on his mattress on the floor at the hotel. The hotel called us, I don't even know if you knew this, but the hotel called us one day, they said, is he okay? We just want to make sure he's okay. We're like, yeah, he's great, why? We're like, his mattress is on the floor. He was sleeping like 2 hours a night, would never talk to me about the part, would never want to rehearse, just want to shoot. And is just brilliant and would like learn the lines in the morning because he wanted to live in the moment. He didn't want to have to intellectualize it in a way that stifled him. So it was just this beautiful thing happening in front of me. And to me, I had been living with this thing for years in my head and I was panicked every day that he's not going to know the part or not going to know his lines. The last shot of the movie where we come around on him, I went up to him before and I was like, dude, do you want to like talk about this? He goes, no, shut the fuck up, go away, go away, go away. So it's like, it taught me a lesson about like directing, which is like, if it's going well, like stay away, stay away, stay away. And it just taught me how to deal with actors, which is never, as we all know here, none of them are the same.
And so hold on, no, like you can't just talk and then no rebuttal. I couldn't work that way if it wasn't an amazing script in the first place. The reason why I was able to show up on the day and walk to set going, what are we shooting today? Which would make him so freaking anxious. You have no idea. You've never seen a guy. You've seen how nervous the guy gets. You've never seen it. And I'm like, what are we doing today? He's like, you have a monologue. You have like 5 pages. What do you mean? That's 8 pages. But I couldn't do that unless it was a completely tight script where I felt like I didn't, like you said, I didn't want to analyze it because it was very clear. It was all right there. You'd done that for me. And the character wouldn't really be so self-aware, so I didn't want to be self-aware, so I went into it. And I'm also very aware of his work, and it was very, like, there was nothing I felt like I needed to add to that script. I just wanted to go in there and do it. And I had, because the guy who's my scene partner wrote the thing, he has a clear vision, and I felt like, okay, well, it's not like I'm going to show up and he's going to fuck it, or I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I ended up with an excellent scene partner, and we had a rapport that was like, it was like within the first couple of seconds, we were talking to each other. It was like, yeah, that's David and Benji. We've known each other a long time. And we had barely knew each other at all. But that's because this guy wrote an incredible script. And it was to be a good actor.
So technically still in 2 questions, and I still have the
And
money.
5 per person, yes.
As somebody who's visited the camps before, I think the story did an amazing, you captured so well how surreal that that exists as a historic
Yeah.
tour. And I was wondering, were you inspired because you had visited it yourself before, or was the filming process the first time for both of you to be there?
No, for me, I had like visited 2008 with my wife. Like this whole trip was basically what my wife and I did so many years ago. In fact, the house that we filmed the movie at the end where they put the stones is my family's house. So when my wife and I went there in 2008, we traveled to try to find this house. It was harder than it is now because of technology and stuff. But basically, yes, we went to the camp. We showed up. Maybe it opened at 9. We showed up at 8:45. No one was in the parking lot. It was a kind of foggy Polish fall morning, and when it opened, my wife and I walked through, and it was pure fog, but except with these, death machines of buildings popping out of the fog. I just remember thinking, my God, it was the eeriest thing. I look at our pictures, so just mystified. Like, I can't believe something could look so. You feel like you're walking like through ghosts. You know what I mean? And then so, it was weird because the day we shot was like really sunny, and I was just thinking like, but it's kind of a weird thought to have in the middle of the concentration camp. I wish it wasn't sunny. But basically, I wanted to just present the thing that I had felt and this thing that I hadn't seen before in a movie, which is kind of modern people going on this thing, just standing there in front of these weird things. No one's having any kind of melodramatic reaction. It's basically like this experience where you just kind of go, and I've been there a bunch of times, and you just go and you kind of like stand there and you don't know what to do with your body, and you feel stupid and you feel guilty and you feel sad, and it's just this weird matter-of-factness that I noticed, and so I just wanted to kind of present that, and it took a long time to get them to agree to let us do it.
How about this lady?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we like you.
Thank you so much for such a film. Because you brought up the DSMs, I want to, and also I felt this was so relatable for so many of us. The dysfunction and also displaying the fun in the midst of dysfunction. Has Renee talked about like cinema therapy, watching this, which I don't know if you've heard of the term. I'm not a therapist, but there are therapists that are recommending certain works of art, films to relate to or to
But would it be stuff like
uncover.
this? I mean,
Yeah. And a side note, here in New York, the SAG-AFTRA New York Health Fair we just had,
Yeah.
we had a panel where that topic was discussed. So.
Oh, wonderful. I don't know. I mean, this movie is so it's not like explicitly about mental illness, but obviously it touches upon it in a way. I'd be curious to see if this qualified for something that people found therapeutic. For the most part, it's just given me 7 nervous breakdowns over the last 5 years.
Well, maybe not fully mental illness, but
Yeah.
helping mental wellness or
Oh,
enhancing
interesting.
mental wellness.
Maybe. I mean, the movie doesn't end in like a kind of happy Hollywood way. Maybe that's what people.
Maybe that's.
Yeah. Maybe that's interesting. Yeah, maybe. Well, please bring it up at the next panel. And, we'll send you a link. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Just coming back to the ending for a second, and you explained about this is where he's comfortable in this transient place. But I thought it was interesting because the way you showed him, because I thought what I was going to see was him getting in kibitzing with different people and getting into conversations.
Yeah.
But actually you showed him looking rather uncomfortable. He didn't know what to do with himself. He seemed more like your character in that sense.
Wow, you're really astute. In fact, we didn't have time to shoot the little moments where he's talking to people. It was scripted that he's talking to this family and then they're leaving and he waves goodbye and they don't turn back. We had like 2 days in this airport to shoot everything, JFK, Warsaw, and it was always going to end like that. But you're a really astute viewer. The last line of the script is, it's like we closed in on Benji sitting, we find him where he was sitting before, and he's looking around, and the last line of the script says, anyone can be a friend. Like he's looking around kind of like anyone can be a friend, but what's so brilliant about what Kieran does is that he played the kind of just that terror before he finds somebody, just that discomfort. That's what I loved about it so much in his performance, is that It is. He's like a David there in the sense that he's very uncomfortable with himself, and suddenly David is now comfortable with himself. And in some ways, they kind of flip because David realizes that actually, my life is okay. My life is okay. I'm going to be miserable and I'm going to be anxious, but I have this stable thing that makes me feel okay. And Benji doesn't, and how awful that is.
And do you think he's going to catch a later plane, or he's going to stay in Warsaw?
My feeling, oh, that's in JFK.
Oh, that's already JFK.
That's already JFK. I think he'll just stay there for a few hours and be like, oh yeah, I guess they're closing up.
Great movie.
You're really a astute viewer. Thanks for casting that.
You do now.
What?
You pick.
Oh, me? Oh, maybe all the way in the back. You have a Yankees hat on or something? Yeah.
Alright, so that scene
This is
with
on
the
televised.
statue, when
My bad. The scene with the statue, and you guys were taking the photos.
Yeah.
Was that scripted, or did each actor kind of do their own thing? Where, you know, after Jimmy, you were like, you know, okay, you do this, you tend to the bandages. Was that scripted, or did each of the actors
It was scripted, but it wasn't specifically blocked and rehearsed too much. And little things eked out. Like the only thing that I remember that eked out was which you left in was Will Sharp coming in as a plane.
that
That
was
said,
so
come
funny.
drop out of the plane. Oh wait, are you the plane itself? And he goes, yes, on the plane. Yeah, it's on the plane. And that just made me laugh, and that's in there. But the bandaging thing, I'm pretty sure that was.
Yeah,
in the
Lotus is
script.
bandaging because he doesn't want to fight because of his history. Yeah. And then Marsha, she wants to be feisty, so she wants a gun.
Yeah.
And then the woman wants to go up because her husband's there, and then she doesn't want to go up. And then finally, at the end, the tour guide feels compelled because everybody's up there, but it's surprising. But yeah.
I always like those questions. I find that like flattering. When, you know, like when people say things that are like, and you should too as a writer, I would think. When people think like something is improvised, it's like, oh no, good, I did my job then. I made the thing that he wrote sound, you know, like it just came out. I don't know, but like little things eke out, but it's very scripted, just not rehearsed.
We made a bet, so I had to find out. Thank you.
Good one.
Me.
Yeah. Oh, me honors?
Sure.
Yeah, you're close.
Kingmaker. You could just project. You could project, and we'll repeat. Or wait for the mic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're making you go up and down the stairs.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I feel like I don't have to project for you to hear.
Yeah, but you
but,
got those other people in the
Worry
back.
about them.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Hello.
Hi.
As someone from upstate New York, I'm very familiar with both Binghamton and Ithaca. And I was just curious, you picked the perfect place for someone just destitute and down on their luck basement dweller. You nailed that with Binghamton. And I'm wondering if you had visited before, or was that just pure luck?
Are you from there or just hate people from there?
I am from a town so small you would not even know it, but it's about 45 minutes away from Binghamton. I bus into Binghamton to visit my family.
Okay.
Yeah, so wow. Yeah, I've used it a few times. My first play took place in Binghamton. And I know it only because my friend used to make fun of it all the time. I don't think I've ever even been there, but my friend's cousin moved up there to start the Black and White Cookie Company of Binghamton, and my friend just used to like brag on him all the time that he lives in Binghamton. And I knew nothing about it, I just heard it. And so, yeah, the first play I wrote took place in a campus, a college campus apartment off Binghamton. And then the Ithaca thing, I was just thinking like, oh, he gets like better pot than Binghamton, so so like his pot dealer would be in Ithaca.
You nailed that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's like a bigger college town and everything. Yeah. Wow, that's the first question.
Don't visit.
All of these questions tonight are the first time we've ever
This
gotten
is true,
here.
yeah.
You. Oh, hi. Yeah, you in the hood?
yeah.
Hey.
I was really moved.
I'll repeat, so don't yell at him if he's quiet.
I was really moved by the film, specifically Benji's character and his mental health issues. I think it can be therapeutic, even if it's not
the most happy ending. But I was curious if the character of Benji was inspired by someone you knew and that specific relationship. And I also was curious about that bandana thing around his wrist, and if that meant anything.
Yeah.
The rubber bands, if it was like some sort of mental health thing, he wasn't treating himself correctly. I was just curious where
Yeah,
that
the
came
rubber
from.
bands, I heard.
That was 2 questions, and
Yeah.
I never gotten those.
So
Somebody
smart.
once came up to me personally and asked me about the rubber bands, but
Yeah, the rubber bands was a thing I heard of in like 2012 on NPR. Somebody said that they grew up in a family where you couldn't be gay, and they were gay, and they were told to snap a rubber band around the wrist if they had a gay thought. I was just like, oh my god, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. And so I thought maybe for him, who's struggling with his inner demons, maybe the rubber band would be interesting to have.
And that wasn't in the script. You came up to me on the first day of shooting and said, I have to say for rubber bands, would you be okay with it? And you explained that to me. I was like, yeah, put them on.
Yeah, and Kieran wears tons of stuff anyways.
I do.
Yeah.
The headband was mine. I was actually wearing it earlier today. The one that's in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's Kieran's headband.
I was wearing it.
Around the wrist, is that the headband?
Yeah, around the wrist, and then I did put it on my head. But the rubber band thing was really. What was the first part of the
Oh yeah,
thing?
I've had patterns in relationships like this where I'm just incredibly envious of people, you know, family, friends, people I meet a little bit who I find to be so magnetic and charming, and then, you know, kind of at the end of the day, I wonder, what are they doing now? And a part of me feels a little heartbroken, like maybe they were excelling in that social moment, and maybe at home they're lonely. And I think about sometimes my life and how, like, I feel really miserable in those social moments, and yet at home I feel like, oh no, I kind of have some stability here that I worked hard on to make, and it makes me not wish I was them anymore. But it's hard to realize that when somebody is so charismatic.
Yeah, and it's quite wonderful the relationship between the two, because some days you feel more like Benji, some days you feel more like David, and they're actually so much closer than you really think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a lot.
Thank you guys.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Yeah. Sure.
One more. Then you pick.
I'm so sorry because like some members first, is that okay? But I see you here and now I'm scared. Is that okay? But there was a person back there. I'm so sorry. I just felt I should go back there. You had terrible seats too. I should pick you. You just gotta look up. I'm so sorry. Yes, you over there. Yeah.
You gave us such a gorgeous monologue where we get to find out how David feels about.
Make the right choice.
Okay. We get this gorgeous monologue where we get to hear how David feels about Benji, and it's nuanced. And I'd love to know, Kieran, from your perspective, if Benji had a monologue, what would he be saying about David?
That's such a good question, my goodness.
Thank you.
You know, I feel like it was so weird for a second. I was about to be like, this is like talking shit about David behind his back. It's a fucking movie. Because I feel like David did that in a moment when Benji wasn't around. Right, just because he felt like he had space to be able to say that. And I feel like Benji would have been able to say it to his face, and I think kind of did in the movie. So I think he's direct with him. When he pulled him into the bathroom for some fucking reason to say that, like, you're uncomfortable in these situations, like, that's kind of.
Yeah, you do it to me the whole movie, actually. You say, like, you're like an awesome guy stuck inside the body of somebody who's always running late.
Yeah, there's that. Or like going up to the tour guide and saying, like, you could be doing this better, and I don't know why no one else is telling you, but this is what it is, you know? I think that's the kind of guy he is. I did want to say one thing earlier, too, which was to sort of both your points about mental, whatever, because we talked about it a little bit, but, like, I don't even know why I'm bringing it up, I just sort of had a thought about it, which was that, like, you haven't really identified him as having anything, right? And I never saw it as that way, and I don't think he was the kind of guy who could, like, sort of figure it out himself. I think, like, I couldn't go into this movie trying to analyze him for it because I could only know as much as he knew. And so, like, when I'm curious to know, like, why people might want to see this as, like, therapeutic, because now I feel like I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't, because
it's not specific about something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because there is no sort of resolve and there's no sort of identifying what the thing is, but I guess that's also, maybe that could be helpful because Lord knows what the hell I have because I decided to flow through life being undiagnosed.
Right, exactly, yeah.
There's an allusion to manic
It sounds like bipolar, yeah.
Yeah, it feels
let's say my character as you point directly at me and I'm going to talk about me. Shit, I should probably get diagnosed. Alright.
Could have
ended on a happier note than that, but you know.
Oh, we can do one more question. We got one more question. Oh, okay, yeah. Wait, this is a whole team effort here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, talk about it.
Okay, yeah. My question, I guess, going to the concentration camps. I mean, I was curious about how you guys went about getting the green light to shoot there, and then also like how, I guess, from a directing standpoint, how you ran a production in such a sensitive environment and how that affected it.
Yeah, he was asking about how to get permission for the concentration camp and then how to run the kind of set, manage the set, or whatever. Yeah, it was really surreal. I mean, to the point where like our gaffer, who's the person who runs all the electricity throughout the set, was looking for an outlet with the docents, with the people who run the camp, and it was like on the outside of the gas chamber. There's an outlet. I mean, it was just like every question you ask feels like I can't believe I just asked that question. No, it took like 8 months to get permission. They don't let movies shoot there for obvious reasons because they don't want to turn it into Auschwitz in 1942 with extras playing Nazis and skinny extras playing victims. You know, they don't want that kind of thing, obviously. So it took like 8 months to get in touch. I was writing emails to everybody I know who has some tertiary relationship with this field, including a neighbor of ours in Indiana who works in Holocaust studies at IU, including people who my dad once met who work at the DC Museum. And finally, we got in touch with them, and I just expressed, I want to do something that you want. I'm trying to do something that you want to do, which is that like you're trying to show people what this place is now and what happened here, and that's what the movie's showing. We're sending a modern tour group through it, just the way you send modern tours, and our people are an audience who are going to watch this, and your people are tourists who are going to see it, but we have the same mission statement. And once they kind of understood that and read my script and understood the reference we had for it, it was fine. And then just shooting there was super weird. Basically, I just didn't want to have any, as Kieran says, it would have been very weird to do take scenes, dialogue, and you have to stand on this mark and say, you never came to my birthday, So it was like, we just wanted to basically, it was shot how it was written. In the script I wrote, there's no music. The characters walk in and out of this room, into this room, then they walk out. We wait for them outside, or we go in with them. And I just asked actors, we're going to set up the camera. Don't worry where it is. Just go in and look at whatever the thing is, and try not to block each other so we can see everybody. And then when you're ready, you can leave. And so it was kind of this very simple thing. It just felt like anything you do, directorially, cinematically, performance, is just exploitative. Because this thing is so, the architecture is melodrama. And so it just felt like, make it as simple as possible, and then some beautiful things came, like that beautiful moment that Kieran has at the end of the shoes, where he just goes, it's just real, because he was looking at it for the first time. And it was just like, stuff like that. So selfishly, from a creative perspective, it worked really well, but from a not selfish perspective, which is something I'll have to try to get into for the first time in my life, it was respectful and reverential to the actors and the crew and the setting. Thank you so much. This was the nicest Q&A. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much.